take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
But the choice between the blue and the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself. I want a third pill. So what is the third pill? Definitely not some kind of transcendental pill which enables a fake fast food religious experience, but a pill that would enable me to perceive not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in illusion itself. If something gets too traumatic, too violent, even too filled in with enjoyment, it shatters the coordinates of our reality. We have to fix.
Oh, it's not working. Come on. Hey, what's going on? What's up, YouTube, Trovo, Facebook, Twitch, and whatever platforms that we are live in? It is your boy GXG in here. Welcome to the Political Black Pill. We're on chapter 11, the social consequences of Trump. And also, rest in peace to the Queen, or rest in piss. Whatever you feel about the Queen, that's what's going on. You know, that's headlines, big news. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's reacting to it. Of course, I'm going to give my 2 cents on it as well. But you are here. You're watching this. And also, those who are going to watch it later on, I appreciate you watching this. You know, you can do all the other call to action stuff. We'll talk about that in the middle of the scene. But first, some catching up to do. As you can see, things have been improving a lot lately in this, you know, the studio. Let's call it the studio. The corner studio. Corner studio is more appropriate. All right. I'm not like one of those rich streamers who has like everything set up in the background. I would love to have a lot of things set up in the background in my own. I do have a dedicated computer room, but everything is relegated to this one corner. So let's call it the studio corner. You can see we're getting live with the fishies. So, you know, if that's the thing that you're into, if you like, you know, having something distracting in the background that just, you know, instead of the autistic clicking that you have, that's there too. Hello. And also, of course, we have the Among Us and all the other stuff, the memorabilia and things that represent me and things that I like, books, anime, all that jazz and stuff like that. So let's get into the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to, like, you know, where are we at? Personal things before we, you know, we get the ball rolling. Like I said, this is always the warm-up segment. So for those of you like don't really want to know what's going on, it's up to you. But for now, we're gonna talk about some stuff that, you know, I've been working on lately. So the YouTube channel. All right, the YouTube channel. I've been going all over the place. I did basically a self audit of where we're at on YouTube. For those of you who are watching on other platforms, you can close your ears or listen to it. It's up to you. YouTube, I wanted to know, like, what should be my specific niche? What should I go in and hammer hard on to gather the audience that enjoys the type of stuff that I like to talk about? And I took a poll. Only 4 people voted, but, you know, the votes count, right? Unlike the 2020 election, right? Unlike the 2020 election, right? Anyways, the people unanimously voted that this should be a news and politics channel on YouTube, of course. And I'll be happy to oblige that. It's fun to talk about politics. And then I can talk about all the different theories and stuff like that going on. So that'll be fun. You know, it's, and we're gonna also probably return to like some videos and stuff and start scripting and editing and uploading some videos. Before we get to like the whole things that I used to do in my old videos where I had like a sketch involved and stuff, like an overarching story, we're gonna start off a little bit slower. But the quality is going to be good. I'm not going to take away the quality from you. I'm not going to do that from you. And, you know, you could tell with the improved studio that there should be improved equipment, and there is improved equipment. So if you enjoy all that stuff, that's what's happening. Of course, the fishy's there. I just set up these fish. It's going to be like set up here, so it'll be a little bit more visible. But yeah, that's what's going on. Like a lot of improvements have been going on. Like like the lighting, everything's been improved. The light adjustments, everything's been set up and approved. What do you think, Trump? Since we're talking about you, what do you think?
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Even Big Daddy Trump approves this message. Let's see if we can get this. Oh well. Also, DXG has got a new phone. We have the Samsung 22 Ultra. I need a new phone. My phone bricked on me. It's funny because I've been waiting months for a newer phone, and the phone bricked on me. Can you believe that? I have the worst luck ever, man. I'm telling you, the most terrible luck. Terrible luck. Just like this country. So, and you'll see when we talk about the good stuff, until we get deeper into the chapter. But we're gonna try to be as concise as possible. We're gonna relay the message, and if you guys are watching, this is also an interactive show / podcast. So if you want to chime in, throw your 2 cents in, maybe we can veer off the topic a bit. I am happy to do so. And for those who are watching afterwards, of course, thank you. I love you for doing that. For those who are watching afterwards, you want to leave a comment about what another chapter, something else we should talk about to be included in a newer chapter, the political black pill, leave that comment, or anything else that want to critique, criticize, or compliment. Compliments are welcome. Compliments are always welcome. Criticize. A lot of people like to troll. Let them do them. All right, we're gonna ignore the trolls now. All right, I've completely, almost damn numb to the trolls because I expect it now. It's expected to go when you cross under a bridge. There's one of you guys typing away at your keyboard, wondering why this black guy's talking about politics, but he doesn't know a thing he's talking about. You might be right. You might not be. All right, let's kick it. So you may be asking yourself, or thinking to yourself, or new here and wondering, what is the political black pill? Why does he call it the black pill? Is this one of some of those types of show where he just sits there and rants and rambles about how he hates everything about the system, how nothing should change, and how we're just going to lead to ourselves to an inevitable doom? No, that's not the case at all. So why the black pill? Due to the inevitable outcomes of the social parasitic hyper-capitalistic system ruled by the malignant narcissist elite, we have no choice than to be fatalistic with the news and political developments of the world. The political black pill is not a nihilist philosophy. I am redefining it to be more pessimistic because we haven't changed at the speedy recovery necessary, and now the planet is fighting back. We're optimistic basically of the select people out there fighting back and or have the potential to. This is fighting back against the system, of course. You see, the current political system and the media pundits, whether independent or mainstream, love it when you bend the knee to the establishment, when you bend the knee to the norm. We hear the political black pill say don't do it. You're free to vote or not. You're free to be an activist or not. There's not a philosophy against this is not a philosophy against activism, apologize. Unless your activism is to maintain the status quo and or repackaging fascisms, then we definitely have a problem and you will be cooked. I love doing that. Why the chapters, you may say? The chapters is organized, just basically to organize the show from the various topics being discussed and or revisited. Also, like I said previously, this show is set up to be interactive with you guys, with you there, especially you. Yeah, I know you want to. Go ahead. Like the cool stuff you want to. So forgive us if we go, forgive me if we go off topic and ramble off a bit. So pull up your lawn chair and watch the car crash with us. It is the political black pill, and I'm GXG. I gotta do that every single time. I gotta do that. Just vote for it. Just vote. I gotta do that every time. So someone comes in and we're like, hey, what? Especially if they're replaying it and they're like, what is the political black pill? I've had that before. I had a DM that's like, hey, what is the political black pill? I'm like, you didn't watch the show, did you? I literally sat there and typed and just defined it for you of what we're creating here. And that definition is not set in stone. It's transformative. So, I may go back to the definition and make some tweaks here or there. The further and further we go on, the more and more chapters that you read and listen to. Kind of like a book. Aren't you scared now? Look, the people who don't read left already. I appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well. Anyways, where are my manners? Let's go to let's talk about the most important news right now. The one's got a lot of people shaking in their boots in tears and just calling off and cursing the name of royalty. Now, Do you want to know my position before we talk about this? You know, reading is fundamental. You should always read. That's why we have books here. Here's a question. Have I read those books? Have I read those? I don't know if I have. I don't know. I do read, but have I read those? But think about it. You'll notice. I'm just gonna tell you guys the truth. I haven't read those yet. Those are like book 2. So those are not for show. I'm gonna definitely. You'll see some of those change, like the colors switch out from month to month when I like switch out and read different books. And also you will my vernacular and my diction will start to transform better, and now I can convey the message of leftism in a cleaner, more concise, more educated fashion. So it's that. Either way, ding dong, the queen is dead. Today's top story, today's headline. We all heard about it. I don't need to go over every single detail because you guys already know what's going on. Like, you guys are not idiots. All right, this is why you watch me. You watch the show. All right, you tune into the show, or you like, hey, I'm gonna watch this while I jog. You know, do some workouts, or I'm in the background while I'm doing, you know, my hobby or whatnot, or gaming. I'd love to do that too. Queen Elizabeth III, I believe. Well, Queen Elizabeth passed away. I don't even know, 2, 3, who knows, man. The monarchy is a fucking mystery. All right, I apologize for my Spanish. I'm trying to swear less. All right, and it's a personal thing and also a thing for YouTube. So the Queen passed away. Do we know why she passed away? No. That may develop or may not. These people are extremely powerful. They're extremely powerful. So most of the news or information is going to be funneled out to something that's more palatable to the masses. The royal family is known to do that all the time. Anything that's being a bit controversial, anything that can be put under the rug is going to be buried underneath the palace itself. You're not going to know all the workings or interworkings of the royal palaces or royalties in England, just because that's how the system is set up there. It also comes into question, like, why are you guys still doing the whole monarchy thing? Shouldn't that have been abolished centuries ago? Well, British people are a different breed of humans, okay? All right? But there's something that, there's a reason why I wanted to look at this clip and talk about this in particular. So, since the Queen has passed, King Charles can now be called king. You know, now he's king of Britain. I don't know how long his reign's gonna be because he's also knocking on death's doors, not knocking on death's doors. Isn't that right?
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, that's how we all feel. Okay, but what do you think, Trump?
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, so is Trump proof? What about Biden? My boy, come on now.
You ain't black.
Oh. Okay. Let's just play a part of this clip. Sergeant Gunning, just hit me up with this shit.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Bruh, I'm telling you. Look at the ridiculousness. Look at this terrible, terrible red guts, disgusting vomit-like drip this is. I'm not feeling this at all. Like her cousins with disabilities, you would never know. There's actually been a story about that. You brought up a good point, Hack. That I think there were 2 cousins that had a disability in the royal palace, and no one knew about them. They were the offspring of some duchess or something like that, and it was crazy how almost the moment of their passing. Correct me if the story is wrong, by the way. That no one knew about them. No one knew them at all until like the very final moments of their living. It's ludicrous how much information just funnels out, right? Just gets filtered out. They have a really good stronghold on the type of information that gets leaked. Unlike a certain country that fought against them a couple centuries ago, you know. Things get leaked all the time. Yep, they buried them with no gravestones. It's tragic. It's terrible. It's not even something that you can fathomably think about that happens in our political realm here in the United States. Well, there may be some politicians who have secret children you will never know about, but eventually, you know, mouths chatter, you know, pillow talks, and all that other stuff. and then the information tends to leak, or you get a sweet check from one of the mainstream establishments and mainstream media, and you're chirping like a bird, like a canary in a coal mine. Anyways,
Your Majesty, Prime Minister.
Your Majesty.
I just like, if it's not like a bet, like if we're not like in bed with the ones we love and we're doing some sort of role play, I'm not referring to you as Your Majesty. It's either what's up, dude, yes sir, yes ma'am, or whatever whatever your pronouns or whatever. That's all you're gonna get from me. You're gonna get Your Majesty, bruh. You're 2,000 billion years old. You're not gonna get that type of respect from me like that. What's good, Charles? How you doing, bruv? How you doing? What's good? What's cracking in this palace? We don't live in those times anymore, all right? We're not rolling up the scroll and being like, hear ye. These are the declaration from King Charles. No, fuck out of here with all that stupid stuff. Oh, it's a war game. Whatever.
Busy.
You too.
Anyway, but we mustn't take. It's been so touching.
I think after that rant, I'm no longer invited in the palace if I ever had a chance.
This afternoon when we arrived here, all those people would come to give their condolences. Put
Your Majesty,
flowers.
my very, very sincere
You're very kind.
condolences.
You're very kind. It's the moment I've been dreading, as I know a lot of people have. But try and keep everything going.
Absolutely.
Come
Thank you.
and see.
So there's just a quick snippet of what's going on. You guys already know the information. The information's out there. The media headline is already doing the 10-hour coverage of how much they're is it ball washing? Can I say ball washing when it comes to the Queen? Bosom paddling. How about that? Bosom paddling the Queen, and I like just how there's such a deep sorrow. How they feel as if it's becoming terrible for this country. How we should all be just so or the world goes on. It's funny how, of course, the Queen had a load of influence on this planet. She lived a very long time with the amount of power that she held, right? The thing that we need to understand is, or to keep this in mind, is that if it were you or me, would we have a 10-hour long media cycle about how our lives were that important? This is the ridiculousness of monarchies, in my opinion, right? It renders the rest of the masses just not even empty, just ignored. You're just largely ignored. What about the other people who like literally sacrificed their lives or did the unjust amount of labor, the exploited labor, to just bring up the current system that we are today, or maintain the current establishment? Bye, Your Highness. Footage of 1933 showing the Queen performing a Nazi salute. The footage released in the Sun. Files did not deny the footage. Brev. This doesn't shock me. This doesn't shock me whatsoever. It really doesn't. At the times, we gotta understand. You can't be shocked by this. Of course, we're talking about the British royalty here. Of course, they're going to be undeniably, unequivocally, empirically racist and anti-Semitic in some parts. It's almost, you can find a laundry list of evidence of this showing that. The biggest challenge would be finding evidence to the contrary. And especially during that time, even the United States praised the Nazi regimes in some parts, not all. So, some people are going to be like, oh yeah, you're spreading misinformation. But no, even some parts of the United States, the Nazi regime was also inspired by some of the eugenics programs here in the United States as well. You can look in that to yourself, but it's a different topic for a different time, maybe a different chapter, who knows. She picked Elizabeth because the far right like the first Elizabeth. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. Look, you can go back and see all the politicians up during the day, during the, the Nazi regime, praising Hitler, writing letters to Hitler. It gets deeper, right, than what you see on the surface. And this is another reason why this whole show was structured to be like, right, we get little bit deeper. We try to get more into the root of matters, right? That's why there's certain topics of discussion that we dive into. And if, for you people here who only like, the sensational headline reacting type stuff, I'm sorry, but this isn't for you. All right, this is for people who are actually want to concentrate on a particular topic for a larger period of time and just dive a little bit more deeper. That way you can arm yourself with the knowledge when it comes to normie discussions. Because you're watching a political streamer right now, a news and politics streamer and gamer and all the other things that I do. So it's within my and your interest to understand a topic well enough. So when it comes up at work, the family table, speaking among friends, you're typing it along on Twitter. You're already in a thread, thrashing another fascist and telling them go after yourself and stuff. That you could be like, I know more than this on the rip, off riff. You're on a Discord call, all right? And some far right idiot comes in and tells you all this stuff that they proclaim to know. You can sit there and correct them. This is what we do here. Sorry, I stopped derailing your stream. No, you're fine, Hack. It's fine. We even got to the meat and potatoes and kale, tofu and kale of the stream, so it's all good. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's interactive. So if we go off a little bit, ramble off a little bit, that's what the fun we do here. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's the fun we do here. All right. Let's see. So yeah, that's just a little topic. I just wanted like to kind of poop on the dude's drip, and then just talk about how the ridiculousness of the monarchy and how our institutions are sitting here like crying about this for some reason. Like I understand, like she was a mother, queen of a whole country, but this old system that that British people are still like propping up and caring for, I always found myself not caring. I really don't. The marriages, proclamations and all that jazz, it's just old money. Just keep showing, just sticking out his chin, perking up his chest. That's all that is. It's just old money doing this, making incels like cower in fear. Oh, look, the jellyfishes are moving. Those are not real, by the way. And in American fashion, let's go to our home country. Remember the Uvalde shooting, right? Well, there was another shooting that happened during, what is it? There was a Memorial Park or something? Oh, yeah, Uvalde Memorial Park. Yeah. This is time. So, wait, all right. What's been going on here is we're gonna talk about this a little bit, tiny little bit into detail, especially about country control in America. Not too much, right? Because we got a overarching topic to discuss. All eyes are on Uvalde once again after a shooting at one of the town's city parks on Thursday that left 2 people injured. The shooting comes after months after 19 children and two teachers were killed at Robb Elementary School on May 24th. So again, Texas does it again. Let's continue. The shooting at Uvalde Memorial Park, the same week that students in this town returned to school, keep that in mind, left 2 juveniles uninjured. Though something's going on. Sorry. Though they were airlifted to hospitals in San Antonio to receive treatment. Now, is there a connection or anything like that? We don't really know. All we know right now is just like, come on, guys. Like this is just terrible. ACAB. This is just horrible. And the more and more information that's coming out about how the Uvalde City Police handled the shooting at the school, it just shows that we're severely lacking in something when it comes to law enforcement in this country. And it's up to you, to define what that lacking is. I'm not going to tell you here because this is not really the topic to discuss. We're just skirming around, doing a little warm up topic when it comes to the current news. So, Governor Abbott released a statement in response to the shooting, which officials say is suspected to be related to gang violence. Okay, we're gonna read that statement. I'm not gonna read that quote. Abbott also developed Department of Public Safety officers to the area to combat gang violence in Uvalde with the help of local leaders and law enforcement. Maybe this is a good topic too for another chapter about gang violence and the reasoning for gangs springing forth in the first place. One of the main reasons why a lot of gang activity happens in certain sectors of our society is because there are multitude of factors that contribute to this: the gang violence, the uprising in gangs, the gang culture. Right. The number one reason, of course, we know is poverty. Right. You have to band together as a community to tackle on the larger forces at hand that is going against your community. So this is not me being apologetic to gang activities. This is me just being, objective about it. Just telling you what happens. Right. In an impoverished neighborhood, they need to collectivize their responses to other outside threats by turning inward. Right. And this is how gangs spring up. And also, once those types of pockets of individuals spring up, a lot of them need to, collect their money and make money. So there's another factor that contributes to that. Like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but we know about that. That happens to that. So, of course, poverty, violence, unjustified police actions, unlawful police actions, all this contributed to more and more gang violence, And, children growing up, juveniles growing up with a dysfunctional family home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then that leads into, this happening, especially, after the tragedy that struck in Uvalde. Hey, what's up, Nano? How you doing, Uncle Nano? What's up, Ben? What's up, guys? Oh, sorry. The conditions for injured juveniles are not known at this time. 4 suspects were in custody as of Thursday evening, according to Uvalde Police Department. Now he's outraged. It's been months since we could keep up. You can read the comments yourself. I bet Twitter. This is easy red meat for Twitter. I don't need to go too much into that. And I employ you sometimes too as well. Like when you read some of these articles, headlines, and whatnot on Twitter, you kind of ignore the comments because it's just people just going off saying the dumbest stuff just for the hot topic reaction. Yeah, I like that hot topic reaction. Terrible drip, terrible everything. So this is a statement from Governor Abbott. Like I said here before, this is the type of style of politics that I do here. So if you don't like getting deeper into statements, bills, political documents, I'll try to make it as as fun and entertaining as possible. But you gotta sit here for the meat and potatoes or the kale and tofu. I say kale and tofu for our vegan audience there because I am one of them too. But that's what I'm saying here. See what I'm saying? It's before we read this, let us come together. Let us put all our hands in prayer and bow down, or set your hands up to you. Let's bow down and do our Trump. And Trump will take it away for our political worship. All right, take it away.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Inshallah, amen. Okay? Inshallah and amen. All right. Governor Abbott's statement on gang shooting in Uvalde. Governor Greg Abbott today issued a statement on the gang shooting in Uvalde and the manhunt for the suspects. I was outraged to learn that gang violence has endangered the Uvalde community and innocent Texans this evening. I immediately called Mayor McLaughlin and County Judge Mitchin to offer the state's full support and resource as law enforcement hunt down the gang members. After speaking with the mayor and the county judge about the immediate need for more law enforcement support, this is why you need to read these statements, because they drop those little nuggets in there to tell you what are they going to do, where do the priorities lie when it comes to these types of responses and what they're going to do in the future. This is why this is important. So we could just read the headline and be like, oh, okay, let's dog poop and pile on him, and let's ignore the rest of the nitty gritty details. And then you will fail to see that he's going to use this moment of no tragedy unused, right? No tragedy unused. So what we need to do, more gang violence at a place that had a massive school shooting. You know what we need? You know what your tax dollars need to go to more? more police. And what's that going to do? Nothing. It's not going to do absolutely nothing. Because guess what? This has been happening with the lesser amount of police force, and it's going to happen with even more police force. You know what? And it's going to indicate in a lot of the data that comes out, especially if you increase the amount of law enforcement, the amount of arrest. And the amount of arrest, you know, they almost kind of correlate to the amount of law officers, you know, patrolling a certain area. The law enforcement's patrolling a certain area, coming to certain calls because, you know, you have more bodies to report more. So it seems like, you know, more and more is happening. Thus comes the unending cycle of more crime, more police. More crime, more police. And it just keeps stacking and stacking until the inevitable initiation of your budget of your city. And then, you know, all of a sudden school budgets are being cut, roads are being unbuilt. But, you know, at least the police department has like 20 different tanks to tackle on Little Tyrone gangs or Brad's Aryan Nation group that's going on around your city. You know, at least they have tanks and military gear for that stuff. Anyways, I have directed the Department of Public Safety to conduct patrol operations in the gang hotspots. Send an additional 6 DPS troopers units to work around the clock and begin coordinating an anti-gang effort with the city. There's a way to, you know, reduce gang violence, reduce the, I guess, production, for lack of words, of gangs, the buildup of gangs. It has to do a lot with economics. And, you know, community services and stuff like that. Working with the Uvalde Police Department and Uvalde County Sheriff's Office, DPS is deploying special agents to target 5 gang operating in Uvalde. Thank you to all local and state enforcement and first responders who swiftly went into action to protect their fellow Texans. Gang violence has no place here in Texas, and we will bring the full force of justice down on those heinous criminals. Gang violence has no place in Texas. Here in Texas. The amount of gangs in Texas, including law enforcement gangs, off the charts. But I digress from that. So, what do you guys think? Do you believe we need more law enforcement in these areas, these gang hotspots? Because all we're going to do is, you know, find, of course, we're going to find more criminal activity, especially in Texas, on the border with Mexico, you know, the drug ring. Oh, easy pickings. Easy pickings. Public schools, no social safety nets, not at all. Oh man, hell yeah, the vegan con. Whew. I think the only thing that's keeping me up right now is the coffee. Oh, whew. Let's see what we got here. Maybe I should have poured more coffee and got water too. Amateur stuff, man. Amateur hours here. Amateur hours. Amateur hours started streaming, all right? Amateur hour is started streaming, bruv.
Emotional damage.
Amateur hour, bruv. All right, so we saw Abbott's statement about what's going on. They believe it's gang violence. That's what they say. They believe it's gang violence. Rest assured, nothing's gonna be done. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's talk about economics for a bit. Let's talk about inflation for a bit. Let's understand what's going on. What is the plan of action that the Fed has for us? That way you can understand what's your stocks, your bonds, your investments, your savings, and your paycheck, how that's going to be affected in the near future. You know, for those of you out there who are a little bit more financially literate, a little bit more putting their, you know, dipping their toes more and more in the, you know, capitalist system. You know, there's going to be a stream on that, and we'll talk about that. Doesn't make it necessarily makes you evil, just makes you, you know, kind of like, how do I say this? Donate a bit more to the structure itself. It's a necessity, actually. Sometimes I've lost 7% of my 401k last year, bruv. I've lost so much of my 401k. I called. So I lost a good chunk of money in my 401k. I called my I don't know, the person who had the fiduciary responsibility to control my assets, right? So I called them because this is money coming out of my check that, you know, I barely get enough money. This is back then. This is a while ago. I called him. I was like, what the hell's going on? What are you doing? What's going on with my money? Oh, do you know what you're doing here? Why am I making better returns than you are? Oh no, I'm sorry. It's just how the markets are. You're always gonna get that excuse. Oh, it's just how the markets are. We don't know how the economy's going, bruv. You literally went to school to read the charts. I'm only reading a few bits and headlines here or there. How am I getting better returns in my own personal investment account in comparison to my 401k? Just put it in mutual funds. Just put it in mutual funds and shut the heck up. Nope. They want to play around with tech. They want to play around with tech. They want to play around with tech right now, especially with the tech bubble bursting. I think, yeah. I'm only but index funds and bonds, but S&P 500 hit me up hard. Shit. Yeah, I can go in for days about what's going on. But listen, harder financial times are among us, so get prepared for that. Jellyfish are being more active now. Harder financial times are among us. Be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Hopefully before the inevitable crash that's going to happen, it's going to affect all of us. And they predicted worse than in 2008, maybe worse than the Great Recession. Who knows? I can only speculate on the future, predict it to a reasonable degree, but I don't know all the outcomes. So, hopefully, my Buy Your Freedom philosophy that I'm going to break down in like later chapters and whatnot, or videos, I can talk about how you can mitigate the damage that's inevitably going to come to you. All right, I don't care what of the socioeconomic ladder you are in. Even in the high six figures, you're going to be affected tremendously. It's going to be horrible. Stagflation. Oh yeah. We'll get into it later. But let's learn from the let's go to the horse's mouth itself. All right, Jerome Powell. I can assure you that my colleagues and I are strongly committed to bringing inflation down, says Federal Chair Jay Powell. We will keep it Jesus Christ. All right, going back. I can't read, right? Man, y'all listen to this guy and he can't even fucking read? We will keep at it until the job is done. All right? So we're not going to watch all of it, of course, because this is 5 minutes of fucking economics talk. I'm sure you guys don't want this. As deep as we go into topics, some topics are just way too dry, okay? You need to just pull out. It's not getting wet enough.
Before the pandemic, unemployment was at a 50-year low, inflation was low and stable, and the economy was growing steadily, with no obvious imbalances threatening continued expansion. So, of course, in that sense, none of this high inflation that we see around the world now would have happened without the pandemic. The pandemic severely disrupted the economy, gave rise to risks of much more dire economic.
Let's stop you there. The pandemic attributed to in my opinion, the pandemic was a catalyst to what was to come in this country, especially with our especially the way our system is set up, right? Our economic system is set up. There's always bears and bull markets. There's always sometimes, most of the times, I'm having a good time. Oh, that's great. Most of the times the way that this country is run is every 8 to 10 years there's a economic crash that basically resets the system, resets the economy to basically keep on pushing this carcass of capitalism that we inevitably keep pushing us. It's Frankenstein's monster, right? I'm all over the place with this. I've realized that, right? What the pandemic did is it sped up the process of this inevitable boom and bust cycle, right? So we're currently now in a bust cycle. We're currently in a cycle in where a lot of our money is being drained out, right? And they say this is basically a necessity for our economic system to keep on to keep say this, not flustered, keep on thriving, right? So that's my opinion on that. The pandemic really so much as just sped up the process.
Consequences than actually transpired really. And that was thanks in part to the policy response. So to start with policy, there's no question that policy certainly supported strong demand. But in my view, you would not have seen anything like the inflation that we have seen without the pandemic effects. And those pandemic effects include both shifts in demand and also playing a role in, not solely causing, but playing a role in the supply side constraints that emerged. So as for the pandemic, it did lead directly to an extraordinary shift in demand away from in-person services and to goods.
Yes, because during the pandemic, we realized to ourselves that, hey, it's why are we spending our money on like useless crap? You could tell by the corner studio too. I'm not one to talk, right? I'm not one to talk at all, right? People realized that they need all they needed was the bare minimum necessities. You don't need all this fancy stuff that you continue to spend all the hard-earned money that you earn, and you know, all the goods and gadgets. You just need stability. You need consumes that just makes your life that can carry on you carry on your living, right? Toilet paper, paper towels, food, water, just the bare minimums to survive. And people starting to often, and you know, not all the other goods and gadgets we consume, right? All the unnecessary high-end like branded products as well. So that was one thing. Line go down. Line always go down.
That shift, of course, was a major contributor to inflation in goods prices, which was really the main inflation story at the very beginning when inflation broke out suddenly in March of 2021. It's worth remembering that inflation actually declined in the early stage of the pandemic and then suddenly rose up in March of 21. The pandemic also contributed to constrained supply in a number of important ways, including a large and persistent reduction in the size of the labor force, which contributed to extremely tight labor market conditions and upward pressure on wages. Also, the turmoil in global supply chain.
Let's say that again. You saw the face. Look, you need to look at right now. I'm asking you to be a body language expert, okay? Everyone put on their body language, shimmy into your body language expert personality, okay? I need you to dissociate from the personality that you are now. I need you to and recharacterize yourself as this brilliant psychophiliologist, all right? Psychophiliologist, and just read body language and see. The mouth is moving, but the body's doing more of the talking, especially in this part.
Reduction in the size of the labor force. The pandemic also contributed to constrained supply in a number of important ways, including a large and persistent reduction in the size of the labor force, which contributed to extremely tight labor market conditions and upward.
It is your fault. It's always your fault. It's the bareness. Hey, it's what happened. Okay, we understand the pandemic basically told us like, hey, there are certain people in our society who are essential to keep our society running. So what do we do when we realize all these heroes that we set in place to keep the country going, bare bones like, we abused them. We told them to go out there and sacrifice themselves for the economy, right? And a lot of them lost their lives because of it, because our greedy notions and our unwillingness to be inconvenienced in the slightest shift in our well, god damn, I literally have the word in my mouth and it just, oh my god, dude, who's watching this guy? Who's watching this guy? Routine. All right, the slightest inconvenience in our own daily routines. So that is what's going on, right? Let's skip on ahead. All right, you can listen to this yourself. All right, I implore you to. We need to get into more and more of the main topic at hand. Okay.
Inflation under control. And what had happened over the course of that long period of the Great Inflation is that the public had really come to think of higher inflation as the norm and to expect it to continue. And that's what made it so hard to get inflation down in that case. So it is very much our view and my view that we need to act now forthrightly, strongly, as we have been doing, and we need to keep at it until the job is done. To avoid that, we think we can avoid the kind of very high social costs that Paul Volcker and the Fed had to bring into play in order to get inflation back down and set us up then for a long period of price stability. You know, that speech, the point really there was to deliver a speech that was narrowly focused on inflation, more direct and a lot shorter than a typical Jackson Hole speech. And I thought that what was appropriate was a very, kind of concise and focused message. To your question, the message really was that the Fed has and accepts responsibility for price stability, by which we mean 2% inflation over time. That, again, to your question, the longer inflation remains well above target, the greater the risk that the public does begin to see higher inflation as the norm. And that has the capacity to really raise the costs of getting inflation down. So finally, history cautions strongly against prematurely loosening policy. I can assure you that my colleagues and I are strongly committed to this project, and we will keep at it until the job is done. I can also assure you that we never take into consideration external political considerations. We are accountable.
Lies. Oh, lies!
Of course, they take into consideration the political cloud, right? What's going on? What political pressures are really hammering home the Fed and what they're supposed to do in reaction to what's the current economic woes, right? So that was a lie, of course. To save face, right? Look what happened during the Trump administration of how basically he told the Fed, "Hey, keep inflation down to, I think it was like inflation. Keep something down to 0% and just keep it down to basically to give the illusion that our economy is booming and doing so well." And now we're reaping what we sowed. Now the Tax Cut and Jobs Act as well. We're reaping what we sow. We're starting to see the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder, the poorer among us, the poorer class, having to pay a little bit more in taxes. And that's just, that's just basically bread and butter for the elites. The people in our society who actually control and move this caravan of a country into more and more disasters. Okay, right now what we're facing, even before this economic turmoil of a recipe we cause ourselves, it's the planet's fighting back as well. So we're fighting in multiple fronts, right? We're fighting against a lot of foes out there. And I implore you to understand that those who we put in a position of power are only in power to keep the system going, right? There's only going to be change if we truly want change for ourselves. If we truly sat there and got up off our asses and decided that we no longer want to participate in the same system. One of the greatest calls out there, especially during the pandemic and returning back to work, the whole returning back to work message with people saying, stop, don't do it, do a general strike, let it all fall, let it burn, okay, let it go down, because all we're doing is continuing the inevitable. We're delaying the inevitable. All right, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that's gonna stop this system but ourselves. But what did we do? We got comfortable again. We got propagandized. We were told, go and sacrifice yourself for the economy. Die for the Dow Jones. It's and what is there to do anymore? Huh? What is there to do anymore? What can you do anymore? As an individual, you can't, right? But now more than ever, right? There's this small fire of hope. This is small match of hope, I guess, right? Let's call it a match of hope. A lot of people now are collectivizing and understanding that their own power, their own collective power, their own collective labor power against the gigantic, evil, monopolistic corporations that basically thrive off our primordial soup matter, right? We are the cogs of those machines because you are the true commodity when it comes to this economy. Not the paper, not the numbers in your bank account. All that can change within the blink of an eye. It can. It really can. But the only thing that's unchanging is you. Your willingness to sacrifice your life, your unwillingness to set upon boundaries on your own work, your own labor. That's the biggest factor. We can play all this philosophical games, but it always ends in you. Okay? And with that being said, let's go into the main topic at hand. All right, so we're going to talk about the social consequences of Trump. First and foremost, I want your opinion on something. For those of you here and want to chime in, you can. This is the perfect time to chime in. What are your opinions of Trump? Objective opinions, all right? We know a lot of just, we got a lot of lefties here, because I myself am a lefty. What is your, so take away your personal feelings on Trump, the person itself, and the administration, and divide yourself from that. We're lefties are good at dividing ourselves, so let's do that, and really take an objective view on Trump, the social implications of it. What do you think happened? All right, 5 words or less. Go. What's up, ESG? Let's get this set up. And you can do this in your head too. I'm going to continue on forward anyway. You got it? Okay. Even if you got it in your mind or you didn't type it down, that's fine. All right. And it gave me time to set some things up as well. We do that here, okay? We do that. We do the damn thing. We do the damn thing. 5 words or less is hard. I'm drunk. No, you don't have to do 5 words or less. I'm just being that one teacher that everyone hates. When they give you like something you can like expand upon and just speak for hours upon hours on end, right? That one topic you're like, oh, I got this, no problem. Then they say 5 words or less, and you're like, oh, you know what? Just go after yourself, All right, so let's face it, right? The age of Trump has awakened many of us. Okay, I wouldn't be here talking politics if it wasn't burning in Trump, right? Trump, because of his social presence, his media presence, his lambastedness, his hilarity and whatnot. I'm giving praise here because the dude is a funny guy, right? Especially in the how do I say this? The uppity system that we think ourselves to be, the celebrity culture that has been evolving since the Obama administration in our current era of politics, right? And Bernie's unwillingness to move and some of his policies and whatnot. I wouldn't be here with that, right? So I'm thankful for that. But we got to think about how crazy it was that how crazy it is that things have changed over the few years, right? A lot of people talk about the Overton window, right? So let's look into what the Overton window is. So the Overton window, and we're going to keep this simple, right? The Overton window is a range of policies. Yes, I'm using Wikipedia. Go F yourself if you think this is a problem. The Overton window is a range of policies politically acceptable to the mainstream population at a given time. It is also known as the window of discourse. So if we look at this chart here, let's see if we can put a new tab. The Overton window is basically how the population looks at any sort of given policies at that given time. So let's take a certain policy at hand. Let's take universal basic income. Let's talk about universal basic income, just as an example here. So let's say that universal basic income, it's right here, currently right here in the Overton window. Let's do the bottom here. All right. I wish I could have like a marker and like mark this right now, but you guys get it, right? Maybe I can do this. Hold on. Let me just do this real quick. Okay. One second here. as I fix this up real quick. I was trying to do a fancier way, understanding this. Fine. Let's use MS Paint then. Also, I can't sub again. Oh yeah. Now it's just donations and just follow. That's all. So if you're donating on the Twitch side, you're like donating. That's all we're doing right now because I'm doing I'm streaming onto multiple different platforms. All right, so let's draw the Overton window. Our side. So let's do this way. All right, that's the window. There's a sign there. All right, so this right here represents the unthinkable. This represents the sensible policies, and this over here also represents the unthinkable, right? And we're gonna label this basically the right and the left. All right, so we're taking something as simple as UBI, right? Let's do it this color. The UBI. Let's say that well, I'm not costing so much. Let's see. Let's scale it back down a little bit. That's too much. Bro, give me like 75. I don't need 50 to 100. Okay. Whatever. Let's do it this way then. All right. So, U represents unthinkable, unimaginable. Something that the masses just can't even think will be a current policy in their government, right? It's something implemented. So, both spectrums, on the left, on the right. So let's say we introduce something like a UBI, right? Universal Basic Income. Let's do like the Yang's proposal. $1,000 every month to each American for their lifetime, right? So UBI becomes a sensible policy because a lot of Americans think, let's say this is neutral, right? Because I'm going to try to explain how the Overton window is shifted to the right a bit more, in my perspective. In my opinion, right? So UBI, $1,000 to every person, right? Let's say we're in a Obama era, or you know what? Better example, a little bit of course of correction. Let's say we're currently in the era right now, currently in the Biden era, right? So a lot of the population, especially with the introduction of a lot of kind of like left-leaning policies, like especially with the student loans, forgiveness and whatnot, and all the other stuff that is coming off the Biden administration. Dark Brandon's there, right? It's the Dark Brandon meta. So a lot of the U.S. is kind of the Overton window is currently now shifting a little bit more to the left. Something like a UBI being introduced right now will kind of land right here. To green, kind of land right here, right? It's kind of sensible, but it's leaning towards unthinkable. But since the Overton window is shifting more to the right, to the left, then we can see something like that. The population giving more of their support for it, right? But something, let's say that we're in the Trump era, and which we're going to discuss here, that UBI was introduced, then we're going to see that the Overton window shift a little bit more to the right, especially during the pandemic, during the Trump era. They're going to be a little bit more susceptible to this policy because a lot of people need it, right? We're in an economic disaster, catastrophe. So the Overton window shift to the right, something like a UBI policy introduced to them, introduced in a framing of like a right-wing framing, just $1,000 coming from their dear leader Trump, and now they're more accepting of that policy. That makes sense. It's just basically we're looking at like we're looking at the macro, right? And if you don't agree with this, if you want to like talk about how like this is wrong or whatever, then it's up to you. You can leave the comment or whatnot, but this is just me explaining that to the degree that I understand it. We can always come back and revisit it and update this to make more sense for people. But this is just a small little class on the Overton window. All right, think of it that way. All right. No, I don't want to say. That's what I think of. So yeah, the Overton window. So during the Trump administration, what I like to say is that, from my perspective, and this could be different from yours, but this is my show. It kind of greatly shifted to the right culturally, right? And from my belief, it was because of the Obama administration, right? And the propaganda surrounding it. A lot of the policies, well, not a lot, a good amount of the policies from the Obama administration, were right-wing policies, but with the left-wing framing, if that makes sense, right? Especially when it came to how do I say it? Ooh. Especially when it came to kind of wind it down here, huh? When it came to the Obamacare, okay? Dang, I did not know this. So it's a political streamer, okay? The Obama administration. So in all the propaganda that surrounded the Obama administration, basically the Overton window shifted to the right as basically a social, I want to say correction, but a social shift to the understandings of most policies. It might be due not only to the Obama administration, but this might have to do with the hyperfixation on entertainment, right? Movies, social media, entertainment publications, basically going woke, right? And this was like the birth of the culture war, is what I'm basically talking about here. And it basically it was a regression towards like the old style of like entertainment, the entertainment medium representation, right? So a lot of this has been going on in the background, thus shifting the culture socially to the right more, socially to more like kind of conservative light, right? And from that, it birthed a whole different cavalcade of different groups within the right, the all right, the far right, the extreme right, the neo-Nazis, you know, the new revigoring of the neo-Nazi group as well. So you can understand, and since the Overton window shifted a bit more to the right culturally, you know, socially, a lot of those policies that these people introduced became a bit more palatable to an unwilling audience, unwilling American, if you will, right? So, but we could talk a bit more about wokeness and stuff like that a little bit later. So it also, you know, it may also have been, right? Because right now the Overton window, in my speculation, is shifting a little bit more to the left, right? This is basically a social correction of what happened in the past, how the dynamic push, the hard push to the right during the Trump administration. So, might have to do during, you know, the hard economic times during the tax cuts and also the padding of the Fed to artificially present a healthy economy. It's basically another topic at hand. We discussed it a little bit during the current affairs segment. But what I mostly want to do is go over the phenomenon of Trump and its lasting influence on our current political sphere. First thing I want to say, if you believe that Trump had no impact in politics as a whole, then we can't take you seriously. Just can't take you seriously. You know, because fundamentally, the social and the cultural consequences of his administration are going to be dealt with for years to come. All right? There's no avoiding it. You're going to deal with like all the consequences and sins of the Trump administration. So let's dive in a bit more to what that means. And to do so, we need to go back. We need to go way back into time. All right? We need to hit the
emotional damage
to 11. And I present you the 2016 Hillary Clinton camp's reaction to Donald Trump winning the election. Now, this is very important, right? And I'm probably gonna have to mute this so I don't get hit with a copyright claim. So that's what I'm gonna do. But the links are gonna be for those who are watching on YouTube. We're gonna watch this a little bit later, or rewatching it on YouTube. Thank you. The links are gonna be there for you. But let's see. Let me mute this first, right? Because I listened to this for a bit, and yeah, that music is terrible. So I'm gonna play some background music as this plays. So this is the reaction to the Hillary Clinton campaign. Look at the fun, smiling faces, the dancing, we know we're gonna win type things, the sore winners of our society, right? Look at the lips. Look how beautiful this is. Isn't this a beautiful picture? Aren't you glad that? Aren't you glad we're about to break the glass ceiling? It's a layup. It's an easy layup. We got this. Look at that. Yes. Yes. Listen to it.
The scene here is so different than it was a few hours ago when people were happy and relaxed. There are people who are just in shock, and they are just stunned at the idea that they were completely sure they were coming to this event to celebrate Hillary Clinton becoming the first female president, and now they are confronting the reality that they could be walking out of here, perhaps expecting that Donald Trump is going to become president.
And that face just says it all. Because we have to understand that this is the face of being hit with reality. And you're gonna see a lot of these types of faces in the media soon, especially with the incoming economic crash, the crises of climate change, and the comparatively catastrophe that might be the Brandon administration. Brandon, I mean Biden. You know, this is just the deepest, hardest L that people can take, and was sweet nectar for the cultist types in the Trump administration, right? But you have to understand, this is how socially and culturally America was, right? Most of Americans, right? Largely, a lot of people ignored it because they believed, she's gonna win. She's gonna win. You know, whatever. Let's jump for joy. It's easy win, easy layup. Pass the martinis. Let's have brunch tomorrow. You know, that's all we're gonna get. Then reality struck. Now you're staring off at the void, trying to understand, where did I mess up? Where did we mess up? How could this happen? Well, the very same person that you're sitting there hooping, hollering, and celebrating was the very same reason that the person that you most likely didn't, when you felt deep inside of you, the crevices and cracks of your souls not to win, won. Because you've been played. You've been fooled. You've been told we got this. In 2016. You know? Not right now. We were talking about this era right now. We're talking about 2022 and 2021 now. But 2016, like this was the moment that you had, right? You could have pictured it, right? This brunch with your liberal friends talking about how we need to put up spikes on our sidewalks so the homeless people can sleep comfortably at night, you know? And let's talk about, you know, more and more police actions in black neighborhoods, black and brown neighborhoods, and poor white neighborhoods as well, because, you know, that's a whole different thing as well. But then no, reality hit. The hogs won. The pigs were let off the pig pen. The ghouls came out the grave. And now we're dealing with this era. I'm dealing with this era. Don't you love that? I'm painting a really good picture for you. Stop music. All right. So this isn't really a case for me like bashing or praising Trump, but to take a look at the cultural consequences of the Trump administration. And we're going to elaborate more and more as we're going to present more and more video and more evidence. We're going to deconstruct that as best as we can. And I implore you to also contribute as well on what your opinions are of things that are going to be presented. So let's begin with the left. We've already seen a clip of 2016 because we took down a road of memory lane, whatever. We took down a trip to memory lane and just saw the reactions of basically the left, who was defined as the left at the time until now, which could be argued, who claim themselves to be, or people who claim themselves to be left on the political spectrum. They tend to see Trump as like a madman, a fascist, a wannabe dictator, a Nazi. People in the Trump camp or cult say that the left has TDS, which is also known as Trump derangement syndrome. Derangement syndrome. I apologize. So before we look at what Trump derangement system is, let's define syndrome. Syndrome is a group of signs or symptoms that occurs to target and characterize a particular abnormality or condition. A set of concurrent things such as emotions or actions that usually form an unidentifiable pattern, right? So what was Trump derangement syndrome? Why did we hear this constantly during, especially during the right, when it came to the lefts? I'm going to use this in encompassing, not all the lefts, but I'm just going to simplify this better. What the left's response was to most of Trump's actions, most of his policies, and all the stuff that came forth, right? Trump derangement syndrome. I gotta say syndrome. Forgive me. Let's get a little bit bigger. My face is in a way. How about this? Let's see my face out real quick. Trump derangement syndrome, or TDS, is a pejorative term used for criticism or negative reactions to former United States President Donald Trump that are perceived to be irrational and presumed to have little regards towards Trump's actual policy positions or actions undertaken by his administration. The term has been mainly used by Trump supporters to discredit criticisms of his actions as a way of reframing the discussion by suggesting that his opponents are incapable of accurately perceiving the world. That's funny. It's an ironic statement, but we're talking about Trump derangement syndrome. Take it as you will. Political co-founder John Harris wrote that TDS is related to gaslighting. Right? We hear this term a lot. Gaslighting is a colloquialism loosely defined as making someone question their own reality. Term derived from the title of the 1944 film Gaslight. Okay, so you're gonna hear those a lot of terms. Now we define gaslighting. Now you can understand that when you go into your Twitter debates or your political debates in real life, IRL. All right, good luck with IRL. Right, don't get punched. That someone is gaslighting you. So if someone say, "Hey, you're gaslighting me," well, that's not the true definition, right? The definition, as loosely defined as it is making someone question their own reality. And a lot of people think that, especially when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome, that it's the left that's being gaslit. I mean, it's the right that's being gaslit. When in actuality, it's the left. Another psychological concept in vogue in the Trump era, journalists have used the term to call for restraining when judging Trump's statements and actions. That's not what he meant. He meant to say this. Trump didn't mean to say that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. No, he meant to say that he can do something extreme and maybe we'll forgive him for it. And all that stuff that happens. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, 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 blah. Blame, blame, blame. You know, we can go a little bit more into the origin of the term, definition, but we're not here for that, right? We're here I'm just going to define the term and we're going to move on for it. So keep this in mind. Trump derangement syndrome, okay? Am I going to get banned for showing his face? I don't know. So let's go back a little bit further back again. Let's go back another trip down memory lane. Okay. Instead of walking, let's jog this time. All right. Let's look at the biggest media meltdowns to Trump's win. All right. We're going to do this in super speed. Okay. Let's do it in super speed because we don't want to sit here and listen to these fucks talk all day long. Okay. Ooh, why did that show? Oof. What in the world is that? Oh my God. What in the world is that? What in the...
Holy Jesus.
What's going on with my camera?
What is that? What the fuck is that?
What in the world? Oh, that's gone. Thank God. Thank God. Anyways, let's do it. All right, fair use, by the way. I'm invoking my fair use right, especially now. Let's switch to this.
I mean, literally crying.
Everybody.
This is the time for real wisdom. Lightning round.
If Trump wins, how about bursting into tears and screaming fuck for the next 45 minutes?
Well, America is crying tonight. I'm not sure.
A little bit too fast. Let's do 1.5.
How much of America, but a very, very significant portion, and I mean literally crying.
Everybody is crying and so upset, and it is the end of their world.
Feels like the end of the world.
We were on Lifetime last night, and I was slowly getting drunk is what happened to me.
How do we explain how this is possible?
How did this happen? Experienced politician versus racist fake gynecologist.
Get your abortions now, because we're going to be fucked, and we're going to have to live with it.
You're awake, by the way.
Uh-oh. If there wasn't a truer statement, it was that, wasn't it? I mean, Trump is not a fascist, though. He's an elitist that only pushes white centrist things. You're right. You're right. You're 100% right.
You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell.
The best argument would be to say that Trump was more of a fascist adjacent. You know, more of a basically a puppet of people who actual fascists who want to implement a sort of dictatorial nationalist socialistic party, group in this country.
This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country.
This is a different Earth today than it was 24 hours ago. It's a different place. It just is different.
The woman who President Obama called the most qualified person ever to run for the White House couldn't break through. The question remains, who can?
Deeper concerns tonight that the world's shining light of democracy has gone dark.
Decency lost last night, and that's what's so hurtful about this.
This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes.
I kind of push back against the advancement of African Americans, of Hispanics, of women, of Muslim Americans.
It is a mourning moment for those people, and it is a moment filled with fear.
Because I'm on this network and people know my attitudes about things. They come up to me and they're scared, depressed, despair, desperate even, almost clinging to me.
It was a rough night for everybody, I think. We're worried. The people are worried. Okay, he's the president. Now what?
It feels like we're trying to avoid the apocalypse, and half of the country is voting for the asteroid.
Is there a doomsday plan?
Oh, man. People write this stuff for them. That's the funny thing. I have to sit here and we have to sit here and write our own scripts, our own wording, to make sure that we're on topic on time. But they just read the teleprompter right by someone who's a bit more capable of doing these things and conveying the message in a better way. I kind of like when Stephen Colbert say that. Right? Let's just listen back a little bit. It's kind of how a good way to think of where we're at, especially now, politically.
It feels like we're trying to avoid the apocalypse, and half of the country is voting for the asteroid.
Is there a doomsday?
Feels like we're trying to avoid the apocalypse, and half the country is voting for the asteroid. Well, yes, because a larger part of the country was ignored. Just like how, I believe during the Hillary campaign, right at the final moments, she ignored some key states that if she decided to campaign a bit, kind of knock on doors, it had been a whole different story. But we became complacent. We became with the notion of our routines being changed. We knew somewhere in our heart that nothing is going to change. Nothing will fundamentally change. Everything will be good. Everything will be great. But then reality hit us. People by our own cause, sitting on our hands, not allowing us, not being as active as we should have been years ago. And now we have to deal with the consequences of this socially, because now there's a whole group of reinvigorated Americans who decided that they're going to take the mantle of this country and burn democracy to the ground. If you believe in democracy, if you believe in what this country stands for, that's all being basically torn apart at this moment, right? But for those of us who are more black-pilled, who understand the writings on the walls, we can sit back and say, yeah, this was bound to happen sooner or later. Which really wasn't pushing back fascism as much as we were ignoring it. As much as we knew that they were building their own Eiffel Tower in this country, or let's say fortress in its own country, and we just ignored the builders, passed by day, as more and more people built the same fortress. First it started with one, then it started with many. The others were proselytized to help construct this new era of fascism that's coming to this country. Now, this is not synonymous with Trump. This is just basically what's being shouted from the rooftops at this point. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. I don't know if I'm getting a copyright claim for this. And we can just keep going on forward about the mainstream media's reaction to it. Who cares? At this point, we knew what happened, right? You all know what happened. There's nothing I have to convey to you constantly about, right? So we defined Trump deranged syndrome. I showed you a little bit of what that means. We defined syndrome, and I showed you as well the compilation of what happened during the 2016 election. We took a trip down memory lane, but not all criticisms of Trump can be lumped in on some sort of paranoia. By the way, all right, some criticisms were very valid, as we can see in hindsight when the cultists and the Trump rhetoric led to the very nation they swore to care about to be attacked, right? So let's go back to let's talk. I'm talking about January 16 here, right? I don't know why I put that in my notes. Okay, but you can see even in the compilation of mainstream media's reaction and the Hillary camp reaction, some of the criticisms were true. It became more darker days for women, as we could see that the rollback of Roe v. Wade. We could see about our economic times, the more and more darker ages of this country setting its foot on upon us, especially after the pandemic. We're just dealing with so much right now, right? It's unbearable. And now we're also now have to deal with at least half of our population wanting to rid ourselves of our current system and prop up a terrible plight within this country. And nothing can be good from the source. So before we talk about talking about January 6th, I'm gonna reframe this. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, okay? I'm gonna switch it up a little bit more, right? So let's talk about the right, okay? The right's view on Trump, right? So it's not so much that the left's reaction, but the centrist and moderate, like left reaction to the Trump administration, right? The further left you go, the more people understand. Okay, this is just how socially and psychologically and epidemiology, socially and psychologically, this is how the population is going to react to the Trump administration, right? And basically, a lot of these like centrists and like lefty moderates, they kind of elevated Trump to a higher status than most Trump cultists could, right? In their minds, Trump is a Machiavellian dictator whose very existence can destroy the very fabric of our society, which is a bit dramatic to think about it. So, as we can have a confident assertion that most of Trump's actions wasn't his plan most of the time, but it was mainly the puppeteers in the background, like the Bannons, the Jared Kushner's, the Ivankas, and the others that served under his administration, is basically pushing that gas to the metal with their way of talking about the Queen. I think it's heading back to the 1960s. Oh shoot, I hope not. And with that being said, right, let's talk about the responses from the right.